And we are live. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Nicholas Downey from the Gaming Perspective Podcast. Welcome to episode 38. Smaller panel today. Eric wasn't able to be with us. It's him and his wife's 5th wedding anniversary. So shout out to them. Hope they enjoyed their night.
No, that's actually next weekend.
Next weekend, yeah.
He's going for a different. No, he's just gone, and we're gonna dunk on him for being gone tonight.
All right.
Next weekend he'll have an excuse, but not this one.
He packed up his suitcase and he just left out the door. Didn't say a word. Didn't even know. He just left.
So Eric's consistency for showing up is like my consistency for showing up for the multiverse show. That's a dunk. Myself and myself. I did double dunk.
Double dunk.
That's like a Shaquille O'Neal dunk right there. That's cute. I will introduce the panel that always shows up. Mr. Sam Colbert from the Games Network.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope everyone is doing well. We have a ton of really good topics and one really interesting discussion topic, shall we say, that we're going to get into tonight. But as much as I say, that with a sardonic tone in my voice, it actually is more complicated than it appears. Looking forward to talking about it.
I still like your response to me when I put that in the discussion topics. There's a censorship issue. I'm like, oh boy, you haven't looked at your Twitter feed this morning, have you?
No, I've been playing Devil May Cry 5. Come on, bear with me here.
You're looking at the uncensored butt. That's why. All right. And of course, joining me also is Jared, also from the Inner Circle Games Network.
How's it going, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. I'm excited to get talking and, well, just to get talking about gaming.
Right on. So as always, we're going to talk about what we've been playing this week. We will start with Sam this week. So Sam, what have you been playing?
I've been playing Devil May Cry 5. A ton of it. Several hours.
So good.
Several hours of Devil May Cry 5. Speaking as someone whose experience with the franchise was extremely limited beforehand, I screwed around with Devil May Cry 4 and with the Ninja Theory DMC Devil May Cry reboot. I didn't play a ton of either of them, just a little bit, enough to know, okay, this is an action game. There's Dante, there's pizza, there's memes. I get the idea. I get the concept. But I never finished one of them. I do want to go back and play them later. So speaking along those terms, I'm a relative newcomer, and holy crap, this is awesome. It's utterly ridiculous, and I absolutely love it. It's a giant rock and roll show from beginning to end. The intro sets such a tone. It's ridiculous. The opening cinematics and the opening boss fight and then the real intro where the credits start rolling out in one of the most creative forms I've ever seen. It's absolute insanity, and I love it. At one point, this is not a spoiler, you can dual wield chainsaw motorcycle swords. I love it. I simply love it. The music kicks up as you keep on fighting and you get better and better combos. You can even choose different characters to play through different missions. The upgrade and skill system is pretty fair as long as you're collecting all the red orbs. And good God, it looks good and runs well. The RE engine is a work of art and a technical masterpiece. Yeah, it's good. it's good. Go play DMC5. If you have never played one of them before, don't worry. It's okay. A ton of other people haven't as well.
I absolutely love it because it's like I've seen tons of clips because people have been this is one of the few games I've seen where everyone's posting clips like crazy. Mm-hmm. And I love the style of the game. It's a game that definitely does not take itself seriously. Mm-hmm. And one of the best clips I saw from the game is it's great how the van can get to anywhere it does not deserve to be. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And it shows this video clip. And it's like you dial this phone. You're in like the bottom. There's a payphone in the bottom of a crypt, it looks like. And you just put a quarter in. Yeah, I need picked up. And this van just flies out of the sky through the ceiling and lands.
I don't know how she does it. She just does it.
And it gets even if I don't need to upgrade, I'll call Nico up on the payphones just because I want to see the cutscenes and the increasingly ludicrous way she's getting the van to you. Like, I don't even need to upgrade anything. I'm good. I'm saving my red orbs. I just want to see how you're going to do it this time.
She drills up to the ground at one point in time with their freaking van. You're like, how? How'd you do this? Wait, you did it with a winch from the front? How? This is ridiculous. This is awesome, but it's ridiculous.
That's really awesome. I'm dedicated to my backlog at this point, so it'll be a while before I get to DMC5. But it's one of those games that the first time it goes on sale, I'll be there for sure.
It's been a blast to play, honestly.
Is that what you've been playing mainly as well, Jared?
And it's been mostly Devil May Cry 5 and Anthem, of course. Still playing Anthem on and off, but man, Devil May Cry 5, holy, it's just been such a fun game to play overall. Like, even though I've barely ever played the Devil May Cry game. I've watched people play the original games growing up on and off. I kind of sort of remember it, not overly too much. And then I played a little bit of Ninja Theory's Devil May Cry. So I was interested in seeing all the gameplay, and then I saw and read a couple of the reviews for it when it came out, and I was like, oh man, you know what? I'm kind of sold in the game. I really want to buy it and try it and play it out. I'm not familiar with it yet, but it looks like a lot of fun. And it really is a whole lot of fun. The soundtrack is fantastic. The cinematic cutscenes are fantastic. The gameplay is great. And I absolutely love playing as a character V. Oh my goodness. He is just fantastic. He's a cool character. The way his combat system works is just fantastic. I'm not going to get too much about that one. But man, just the way this game plays out and how it's laid out and the quality that was put into it, you can tell that there's very little technical issues and bugs in it too. So it's really nice to play a polished game right off the bat. Dealing with Anthem after all this time and then going into Devil May Cry 5, it's been a breath of fresh air. So I've been really enjoying it.
Yeah, for sure. And I see you, Capcom, Monster Hunter World,
right?
Devil May Cry 5, Resident Evil 2 remake. I see you with these flawless games right out the box. There's a point I wanted to make because I saw Eric quote tweeted this, and I wanted to share it because it's very true. Is Capcom has been delivering on something that we have not really seen in the industry as much anymore. Is games complete start to finish on launch day. Like you feel like you've got the full package.
Yeah.
Day one. Mm-hmm. And all the other stuff they throw on top just feels like dessert. It's just extras.
Yeah.
Like with Resident Evil 2, those extra survivor stories, those were bonuses. No one expected that or anything. That was a part of the main game. The main game was fully fleshed out, redone, and it's really refreshing for that approach. Myself, I really haven't been playing too much this week. I'm kind of in a rut with games right now. I'm not really feeling anything I'm playing right now. Been playing some Apex Legends, trying to get all the achievements for that. Getting pretty good at the game, getting the hang of it. Mozambiques suck. I don't care what anyone says. The reason they're terrible.
What'd you say about my favorite weapon there?
Oh, you would. But I'm gonna start Bloodborne tomorrow because I think it's a game that will get myself
better.
Well, it's
better. No. It's better than Apex Legends. We're just gonna leave it at that.
It's not.
Yeah, it is.
No.
Yep.
At the end of the day, it's from software games. So. Respawn from software, different levels.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. Probably Bloodborne will be a palate cleanser for me. I just need a game to like suck me in again, and I've kind of been like going through the motions with playing games since Resident Evil 2. And I think it's one of those situations where Resident Evil 2 is such a compact and great game that everything else feels like super drawn out and super unnecessary now.
Yeah.
Games feel super bloated now, and it's been a complaint of mine for a while. We talked about this in the group DMs and why everyone's excited for Outer Worlds because it's a focused 40-hour RPG. I just feel every game that seems to come out now is like you need to commit 100, 150 hours to, and very few games make me want to put that kind of time in.
It's a long investment.
Yeah, exactly. And like I started a new playthrough for Kingdom Come Deliverance for an article I'm working on.
Yeah.
but I won't do a full playthrough of that for the article. I just need a refresher on the game as a whole and everything else, and want to dabble in the
remind yourself of the mechanics, how things look, how things.
Yeah, just there's some things when it's been like a year since you've played a game. There's just some things that were really unique about that you may have forgotten. I just want to make sure I remembered things the way they were.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I've been playing. But yeah, that's where we're saying with what we've been playing. So we're gonna dive into the news here. So if I had pulled the links up, that would have helped. All right. So first things first. This is a game probably I'm the only person excited for this game. So Judgment, which is by the newly named developers. Watch me butcher this studio name. Ryuga Gotaku.
Actually, you did a great job with that.
Oh, thank you. Are the developers behind Judgment. Ryuga Gotaku is the newly renamed studio that handles Yakuza. The Yakuza franchise. Previously, they were just known as the studio that handled Yakuza, basically. There was no studio name. They were just a development studio that worked with Sega. So they've got a new Western release date for Judgment. Launches in the West, June 25th. If you buy it digitally, you get 4 days early, which I'm doing, for June 21st. And the combat looks very much like Yakuza games, which is great because Yakuza games, kind of like Devil May Cry in a sense, it's a very stylized fighting system and it's really over the top and it's really enjoyable. It looks like it still has some of the over-the-top humor from the Yakuza games, which anyone who's played them knows that those games are filled with very serious moments, but also have great comedic and really weird moments.
It's a weird game.
Yeah, but the twist on this is that there will be crime scene and investigative actions, and they're pitching it almost like LA Noire. Almost in terms of investigating crime scenes, interrogating people, and yeah. So it like I like Yakuza games and I like LA Noire. Now, Kith.
You know what's interesting, Nick? If I can jump in on this, the Yakuza games have long been something that I just haven't had the time or money to dive into, but I've thought, you know what? I probably would enjoy that if I ever got into them. If I ever decided to play them, I'd probably like them. Judgment really has me interested in it because I love the crime scene, investigative, criminal underworld type. It's Yakuza. I get that because it's Japan, but from the other side of the court, if that makes sense. I really like that perspective of a lawyer / private investigator, noir elements. I'm not 100% sold, but I'm really close to saying I'm going to pick this up on launch. I'm really interested in this. It looks really, really cool to me.
Yeah, for sure. It looks pretty dope. I'm excited to come to the West. It reviewed insanely well in Japan. I think it's actually higher rated than any of the Yakuza games, which is saying something because those games reviewed insanely well. So it'll be interested to see how Western audiences partake to it. So yeah, that launches on PS4. There's PC people that follow this podcast. You might get a PC version down the line. It's not off the table. They've slowly been porting the Yakuza games over, so it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to imagine a PC version coming later. But if you have a PS4, just pick it up on PS4. No point in waiting almost a year for a PC port, really.
Yeah.
So that is what it is. Now,
it is what it is, bruh.
Into the next part of Water is Wet. Death Stranding has reportedly been slightly delayed.
Oh, my Lord. Oh, my Lord. Of course it is. It's only slightly delayed. Oh, yeah. That's only the first of probably 10 that's going to happen.
So, in an interview with J-Wave, which is a Japanese, I'm not sure if I'd call it a web show or whatnot, but it's an interview with Kojima. And Kojima admitted that Death Stranding has been slightly delayed. Please note the original interview is in Japanese. Fans all over the world are looking for the release of a new game, Death Stranding, that Mr. Kojima is handling. How far is this production going? Kojima responded with the story and design from the beginning to the end, as it is an open world game, is not in the level of adjustment stage yet. It is assembled. Currently, I'm doing this way. I will change the directing here while holding the controller every day, which is the most confusing statement that I've ever heard in my life.
Right.
Regarding the release date, that Mr. Kojima says many studios lag behind planned release dates. Death Stranding has been slightly out of the initial plan, but not much delayed. So Kojima, I don't think, has ever delivered a game on time. Ever. It was a miracle back in the day that Metal Gear Solid games typically landed 3 years apart. I think they were releasing Metal Gear Solid games every 2 to 3 years at one point.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big jump between Metal Gear and Metal Gear Solid. A lot of people don't know about the old Metal Gear games before Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah,
you know, a lot of people would look at you sideways if you bring those up. But the Metal Gear Solid games came out 3 years apart each, except for 4, which came out 4 years later.
And that had to do with hardware issues, I believe.
With the PS3, right, yeah. Right. And then Metal Gear Solid 5 took 5 years after Peace Walker, which came out in 2010. But to give Kojima and his team some credit there, they were creating the Fox engine. So yes. 5 years is a little more understandable.
Well, it's the same thing I told people with Halo. They're making a new engine. They're not going to be able to push out a Halo every 3 years like they've been able to. They're going to need a little bit of extra time. And the biggest thing I have with this is I get people want these games to come out. But at the same time, Metal Gear Solid 5, if you're a longtime fan, Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, the ending feels rushed. And that's because Konami had to push it out the door because they basically were out of money for that specific project. Because Kojima is a notorious money sink. One of the greatest creative minds of our time, however, a little bit on the flamboyant side. As demonstrated by when he teased Metal Gear Solid 5, he created a fake studio, licensed it, and did a trailer for a game that was Metal Gear Solid 5, but wasn't Metal Gear Solid 5, that was done by a studio that didn't exist. And yes, you can Google that, and that is actually a thing he did.
The man is known for going a little extra, to say the least.
A little? A little. Mm-hmm. I admire Kojima and everything else. Death Stranding will come out when it comes out. However, the most disturbing part of this interview is he says it's slightly behind what their planned release date is.
How long is that exactly?
Well, the thing is that this game was never confirmed for 2019 or 2018 or anything like that. So what is the projected date that they're not hitting?
Yeah.
That's
sorry, go ahead, Jared. Go ahead.
It's a good question because I don't know. There's just always been so much speculation and so much fanboy speculation as to when it's going to really release and when really the other games are going to release as well. Respectively, in comparison to the other games, the time frame is kind of correct, but at the same time, do we really think he's going to stick to that typical time frame he had before, or is he going to take his time this time around and maybe take 5 or 6 years to create a game and make sure it's exactly what he wants to create? So if the slight delay, what is that exactly, and where was that time frame or that original date was set for? So slightly delayed, is that 2 months, 6 months, maybe 8 months in comparison to how far out we are from the release date? Who knows? But I'm very curious as to where it is.
That's the thing, Jared. It's like we don't know what their internal date was, so we can't know what that means, and we don't know what slightly means, if that's a month or 6 months. I'm going to take a wild guess, okay? And hang on a moment, because I know what some people are going to say when I say this. I'm going to say that the game has been delayed from fall 2019 to spring 2020 or so. I think instead of coming out in November this year, it's going to come out like February or March next year. Now, I know what a bunch of people are about to say. Sam, that was never realistic in the first place. Yes, you're absolutely right. I agree. I don't think it was ever realistic to expect Death Stranding. Out of all the big three, Death Stranding in particular was not going to come out this year. However, I think that people, including at Sony and at Kojima's team, probably believed it was themselves. They were probably trying to. It just wasn't going to happen.
I think.
Sorry, I'll ask. I have a big question I want to ask, but I'll ask that question after you go, Nick. So please.
The biggest thing for me is thinking people got really wrapped up in Death Stranding because, let's face it, as video game followers and everyone else, Kojima's a big name, and what happened with him and Konami was very, very ugly. And he founded his own studio almost right off the bat. I'm glad that Sony gave him the support to continue doing what he loves. But what people are forgetting is when he started that studio, Death Stranding basically started production in 2016. That was when he started assembling a team, getting his studio set up, and everything else. To me, it's almost mind-blowing for people to think that he could churn out a completely original game like Death Stranding, a new IP, in 3 years.
There's no way, man. There's no way. Like, look at God of War at least. Look at that. That's 5 years at least. You know, at least give that time frame, because if you make God of War in 5 years, I'm perfectly okay with that. Because if you can replicate another same quality, sweet. Because I love that type of quality in game, and it goes to show everybody else does too. So take that time.
Absolutely. And Sam, I want you to ask your question because I'm curious what the direction is.
So if that was the case, again, we all agree it was never realistic for this game to come out this year, but maybe they believed it was. If that is the case, and we're stepping out on a limb here, and it's been delayed from 2019 to 2020, where does that leave Sony's lineup for the second half of the year? Because Daniel Ahmad, aka Z-Huge, on Twitter shared a report about a month ago saying that even Sony didn't know what their second half of the year was going to be. That it was unusually late, but it was still left up in the air. Like they weren't sure what they were doing in the latter 6 months. So what are they going to do? Let me ask this. Are they going to do anything? Could they just ride it out and not have anything come out?
I'm so honestly hoping that Ghost of Tsushima will be coming out sometime the holidays this year as a surprise announcement. I know they're not going to be hosting any press event or nothing like that, but it seems to be the fashion or the trend recently, the growing trend, is to do an individual announcement on social media to say, hey, here's something that we've been working on, or here's a game you've been expecting, here's finally a release date, it's finally coming out this date, blah, blah, blah. Here's the pre-orders are live and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know, but outside of that, I can't think of anything else other than maybe some third-party exclusive that we really don't know about that they're suddenly going to start pushing in advertising. I don't know. I'm kind of clueless, honestly.
Yeah. See, for me, it's one of those things where a lot of people on social media are all hot and bothered about this whole what is PlayStation doing for the back half of this year. Like, there's people hell-bent that Last of Us Part 2 has to come out this year, and there's people that are hell-bent that Ghost of Tsushima has to come out this year, and there's people hell-bent saying that there's no way that Death Stranding doesn't land this year. I'm of the opinion that I'm okay with these games being 2020.
I am too.
Because I really need to point to this right now. Is spring and summer for these games is huge. Because we had that leaked Ghost of Tsushima date, which was August 30th, which is so much a placeholder date, it hurts. I don't believe that. And the whole Last of Us Part 2 dropping October 25th, the week before Call of Duty typically comes out, when PlayStation has the Call of Duty marketing rights, that seems like stepping on your own money fountain.
Yeah, I mean, to be clear here, I think Last of Us Part 2 is probably one of the few games that could survive that time frame. But I think it's a situation where why does it have to survive if you can put it out in the spring and have it thrive?
And that's my point. I think Death Stranding launching in fall would have been stupid because yes, the hardcore gaming audience wants to see what the next Kojima game is, but this isn't Metal Gear Solid. This is a new IP from Kojima. This is going to take some good marketing and some good persuasion, especially with how weird the game comes across. This game needs a good release date. Ghost of Tsushima will sell itself because everyone loves that time period of history. If I was willing to bet money, is that either Last of Us Part 2 or Ghost of Tsushima, if any of those games are going to hit this year, they're going to hit September, and it's going to be like Spider-Man window almost. That just before the third parties start churning out their holiday titles. And even if those games don't come, that means 2020 is going to be an absolute gold mine for Sony because they can release Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, and Death Stranding at their leisure.
Right.
I would much rather see PlayStation do what they always do and wait and give these guys the time instead of rushing to the deadline, give them the time to polish it to perfection and release it. They've done it with Sony Bend with Days Gone. That game's been hit with multiple delays to polish it up, and it shows. You look at what we originally saw for Days Gone versus what we see now, the polish is noticeable. Let these studios take their time. They deserve it.
I agree. And think about this. What if this is what if every 2 to 3 months, from like, let's say starting in February or March, every 2 to 3 months, you have Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding, and The Last of Us Part 2 leading up in the hype to the PS5 being released. That is a massive hype train. And, you know, like Sam said in the chat, not me, our other guy in our chat, said, you know, they can sort of take a breather. They haven't had the competition in the same regards for first party efforts over the last couple of years. You know, Sony can take 6 to 8 months, 9 months, whatever, and just, you know, presumably they're going to have Concrete Genie release, which will be whatever. You know, they'll have Medieval, they'll have Blood and Truth. It's not like games aren't going to come out, but let them hoard these last big blockbusters to go bang, bang, bang in 2020. It makes more sense. You're not pushing consoles this late. Everyone is going to, you know, be on the downturn for hardware. Well, okay, not everyone. Nintendo won't. But Microsoft and Sony are both going to be on the downturn for hardware this year. It makes sense to just save the games until next year.
Yeah,
anyways.
And Dreams is already kind of technically out, isn't it? In early access.
No, it isn't. It's going to come out in limited early access to a certain number of people sometime this spring. It's not out yet.
Yeah, that's limited. You can't just buy that. That's them giving specific people permission to buy that.
All right. Damn. All right. Jeez. I see how it is. Damn Dreams. That's a weird studio, not gonna lie. And how they're kind of controlling and
I think there's some communication issues in terms of Dreams. We'll get into that on an episode. We'll talk about Dreams once we get more hands on it. There's a lot of stuff that's kind of interesting that goes on with that game. Shout out to Sony just in the terms of letting these studios take their time. Media Molecule hasn't put out a game on console except for Tearaway, which was 2013, 2014. So Media Molecule hasn't made a game since I think 2011. And Sony Bend also has not. Well, Sony Bend hasn't made a console game in over a decade, and they're going on 7 or 8 years since their last game release. So Sony is giving these studios all the time in the world to succeed. It's just whether they succeed or not is up in the air. But I think Death Stranding being slightly delayed, I don't understand why people are surprised by that. Kojima's gonna Kojima, and there's at least 3 more celebrities they could cram into this game. And as Sam stated in the chat as well, it's a really good point, is that studios like Naughty Dog that have that caliber of development have the power to go to Sony and be like, hey, we need to delay this game, and Sony will give them the okay. Cory Barlog in an interview said that he went to I can't remember the executive he went to at Sony. I think it was Sean Layden, and said that he needed a couple of months more for God of War because the crunch was really getting to Sony Santa Monica's guys, and Sean said, "Yep, no problem. Consider it done." And that's awesome. That's what we need to see more of. Microsoft's adapting the same kind of development style, which is great because they were notorious for just pushing stuff out back in the day. Nintendo's crunch is interesting. I should have thrown that topic in the topic list. That was
no, we have too many topics as is. We need to keep moving.
Yeah, you're right.
No kidding me.
Yeah, it's been a busy week in news, surprisingly. So we're going on to something that's not really that disappointing. EA isn't holding an E3. Well, EA Play will be returning, but there will be no press conference being held.
Fine by me.
Is really anyone crying about this?
No.
I was sad that we don't get to see them try to convince people that mobile games are fun. Literally, has anyone ever looked forward to an EA conference?
Me?
I mean, I think the silence is your answer. Let's just be okay. Look, let's just be brutal and blunt and call it for what it is. This is a very good thing. Thank you for not wasting our time. If you're not going to have a good conference, don't waste our time with it. Just hold streams showing off. Hey, here's a dedicated stream for Jedi Fallen Order from Respawn. Hey, here's a dedicated stream for FIFA 20 or whatever they're on at this point.
Perfect.
Like, do that. Don't waste our time.
Yeah.
They're still holding EA Play, but maybe with these dedicated streams, they can do a better job of highlighting their games. I don't know. I don't think it's that deep. I don't think it's that big of a thing. It's definitely interesting that we're now down 2 conferences, Sony and EA. We're down 2 conferences.
I think it comes down to a term of not having much to show. Let's face it, EA blew their wad with Anthem, Apex Legends. They've got Jedi Fallen Order, which they're showing prior. They've already announced when they're showing that. They're showing that prior. They're trying to build the hype train into fall for that.
April.
We're not going to get another Battlefield game.
Not announced this year, no.
No. We're not going to get you'll have your Madden, your FIFA, and that stuff, but they can just show those games off at streams. Those are fans will go looking for that content. So I don't see a reason outside of maybe highlighting some of the cool indie games. I've been saying this for a while. The polish and state of games that EA has been releasing in the AAA space has been terrible. Outside of Apex Legends, their quality control has been terrible like the gate. But that cannot be said for their indie published releases, such as Unravel 2 and A Way Out, which both were pretty great games.
And you know what? They still have SOS to come out as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be a great game. I'm really looking forward to that one.
I like Alden's idea. EA is going to do their own Nintendo Direct where they announce 10 Star Wars games and then cancel them all at the end of the Direct.
Jeez, dude. Jeez, just go for the throat.
Jesus, okay, let's move on. We're beating a dead horse here, man.
Nothing will ever make me forgive Disney was when they bought the rights to Star Wars from LucasArts and then canceled Star Wars 1313.
Man, Star Wars.
Why do you have to bring this up? Can we move on, please?
Because people ask me why.
Stop? My heart hurts enough already.
That game was going to be the Uncharted of Star Wars games.
Can you?
No.
No, you're a horrible person.
I know I am, and that's why I hate it.
Oh man,
Disney represents all the evil that I hate in corporate business of buying things and then destroying the things I love.
You just tore my heart out. Oh,
it's like EA, not like BioWare make the true game we need, which is Baldur's Gate 3.
Whoa. Oh, okay, yeah. And you know what? Next topic.
Yeah, see, I knew I could get
next topic because we're going on to something that's way better than Baldur's Gate.
Actually, I won't argue with you with that.
There you go. See?
All right. So one of the best games of PC gaming is coming back. So the original Diablo lands on GOG for storefronts. So, quoting the article from TickGamesNetwork.com, everyone knows it. Almost everyone has played it. The original Diablo from Blizzard Entertainment has made landfall in the GOG storefront for about $10. You can add this DRM-free classic to your PIC library. Something a little extra this version, though, GOG and Blizzard have teamed up to give you two options of how you want to play. You can either play Diablo in its original glory, all 20 FPS, SVGA graphics and all, or you can choose a more modern version. The modern version comes with bug fixes, Windows 10 compatibility, and high-resolution support. In the end, though, it's still that classic, fantastic, demon-slaying game we all love. So, yeah, the original Diablo is back, and that means you have no reason to play that garbage that's Diablo 3.
Or Baldur's Gate.
Diablo 1 and Diablo 2 are Hallmark games. I'll never stop talking about how disappointed I am in Diablo 3, but I'm glad
it's not that bad.
No, compared to the original 2, I'm not saying it's a bad game. It's a great game. Diablo 3 is a great game, but it's a terrible Diablo game. But I'm glad it found a whole new audience with Diablo 3.
That's true. That's true. It's actually quite publicly popular.
And that's what I mean. It's like sometimes when you're a fan of a series, you have to let it grow. It may grow into something you're not super happy about, but you have to let it grow. And like, I'm not a huge fan of Diablo 3, but the amount of people that know the Diablo franchise now because of how big that game was, it's awesome. More people like Diablo. And now you can play the original good ones on GOG for $10. It's also interesting to note, too, Sam can either confirm or deny this. I was reading a rumor on Reddit that there will be more of the old school Blizzard games coming to
you know what? Actually, that's very true because Nibble on Twitter there was saying that there's quite a heavy rumor that the original Warcraft Orcs versus Humans will end up appearing on the GOG storefront as well quite soon. And
so
the same
GOG had to lay off staff a little while ago due to financial issues. So they're like, what can we do to get people using our storefront? Bring back classic 90s PC games.
And if the fervor I'm seeing on Twitter is any indication, it's working. People love it.
And you know what? It was StarCraft 2. Oh my, not StarCraft 2, the second one, the original.
Blizzard. Yeah. Blizzard. Come here. Let me whisper in your ear.
Yeah, come here.
When you wanted to launch that mobile game, you should just made Diablo 1 and 2 available on Steam, and we would have forgiven you.
Yeah, Steam is trash.
Yeah, I won't disagree. I'm not huge fan of Steam. But, I'm going to throw this in because it did give me a laugh because Jeff Grubb made a great tweet about it. But Nintendo Labo VR. Quick opinions, thoughts, go. Sam.
Why? I'm done.
Jared?
Well, you're going to see a lot of kids with broken noses and black eyes and really kind of deformed faces from probably running into objects with this VR thing on. And probably broken TV sets, too, of them running into it, too. I can see that happening. Just running forward.
Jeff Grubb, though, who made the tweet of, hey, Mom, come look at what's up this duck's ass with the duck VR strapped to his head. I was like, Nintendo, like, Reggie just retired. You can't keep the memes going.
You'll just have to watch give a kid VR in a silly little game and just watch what they do, and you're probably going to have a way better time than what they are having, just because the amount of odd things that they end up doing. Nick, you've got kids, so you know kind of weird crap that they end up doing and stuff. You're just like, what the hell? How are you, or why are you doing that? So
like reeling it in. The reason Nintendo VR doesn't make sense to me is because people have problems with motion sickness and everything else with the higher, like PSVR and the high-end ones that have high quality, like resolution and FPS. Because low FPS is what causes the motion sickness. So you're telling me that the Nintendo Switch at 720p, 30 FPS max is going to be the next
give us VR.
Just stop. And then to take it and put cardboard around it, try to make it more immersive. Like, just let Labo die. Just let it go. Okay. And speaking, this segues perfectly into our next conversation. The thing that makes no sense to me. So, Octopath Traveler, which was a huge hit for the Nintendo Switch. It's made by Square Enix, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Square Enix.
So it released to really great reviews. A lot of people really enjoyed it. So they're making a prequel. But it's only for Android and iOS devices. So the gameplay will remain mostly faithful to what you experienced in the original game, but movement will be drastically simplified. Up to 8 characters gain to gauge of battles this time around, and new characters will periodically be added. Square Enix is also planning to add new story content via future updates. Octopath Traveler Champions of the Continent will be a free-to-play title. As usual for mobile title, there will be optional microtransactions. Interestingly enough, this game will be a single-player campaign. There are no multiplayer modes whatsoever, or at least none at launch. The game will launch later this year. There is a trailer. It's also important to note that while they did reveal this mobile announcement, they also did state that they are already working on a sequel. That's very important to note. They are doing this prequel mobile game, but the studio itself is fully dedicated to a sequel.
I don't think this is confusing as so many people are making it out to be. It makes perfect sense. It's a way to get attention to the game by saying, hey, if you don't have a Switch, but you got a mobile phone, look at this. This is what you're missing out on, huh? It's marketing. And they're doing this while they work on a sequel to keep interest drummed up in it, since it's going to be, I would presume, at least another year or so before we see any news on the sequel. So this isn't really that confusing. I think they should port this prequel to the Switch as well. Don't let Switch owners miss out on it. But
see, this is the kind of thing that I'm okay with in terms of mobile gaming, because the thing is that you can play Octopath Traveler on your Switch and never play this prequel, and it won't ruin the sequel for you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, things like that are fine. It's like the things that used to annoy me was the Kingdom Hearts games. First 2 games were PS2 games. The next game in the series was a freaking Game Boy Advance game. Okay, like, that sucks. Like, having to hop between a console to a handheld, back to a different console, and to the card game to get more story. That stuff annoys the hell out of me. And Square Enix is notorious for that. So I'm glad they're being this clear. And once again, announcing a mobile game, but we're still working on the sequel. Are we seeing a trend here? Like, some people seem to be learning. It's not that big of a deal. I think people are getting way too worked up about mobile gaming. It's part of the ecosystem now. You all need to stop getting mad about it.
It's bigger than what some people think.
Well, the thing is what people aren't taking into account, and this is something Sam pointed out to me, because a few months ago I was all on this rager too about why the hell are they making all these mobile games, and sent me a Bloomberg report for the mobile gaming data for China and Japan.
It's pretty insane, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
mobile gaming is like eclipsing console gaming in Asia.
Yeah, I mean, now you know how much Tencent is investing in mobile gaming.
And why Tencent's interested in buying up studios and buying shares in studios so they can use those IPs to bring mobile games.
Exactly.
It's part of a bigger picture. People don't realize is that in the West, we're still very video game focused, and there is a huge mobile gaming market.
But Microsoft has noticed that, though, and we know that too because they've said it, and they want to reach out to that market too and put their gaming on that market as well.
We're seeing it as a whole right now. The Switch has a mobile.
Yeah, that's very true.
A hybrid console. PlayStation just got an update to make remote play on your phone because they were like, well, we just killed the Vita, so we might as well take one of the home the Vita and put it
yeah, that's very true. Portability is very much becoming the more the more popular trend for what gaming is currently. And
we can laugh about this coming right after the death of the Vita, but the reality is, I'm telling y'all, it's a sign of the times. It's part of the direction. It might be a tiny little baby step, but it is a step, and it shows you Sony is going to go in the same direction as everybody else.
And
Don't be fooled.
The only thing I gotta say, if anyone from Sony listens to this show, if you're gonna add remote play to mobile devices like iPads and tablets and everything else, please, for the love of God, let me use a DualShock 4. Like, just let me.
That would be nice.
I was watching a few people on Twitter being like, remote play is really good, but it's really awkward playing Resident Evil when half the screen's my controller and I've only got an 8-inch phone screen.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So it's got to, we're in the early stages. This is the early stages of what this is going to end up being. And it is what it is. Playing gaming on the go, I don't know why people have such a stigma about it. It's like, I saw a thread and people were like, oh, I'd never play my Switch out on the train. I don't want to admit I'm a loser. I'm like, wait, hold up. What? I'm like, so what do you do when you play video games? Do you draw the curtains, turn off the lights, light a candle? Like, is it a whole shameful scenario for you?
Maybe. What's it to you?
I don't
tell you about my personal experience.
Oh my God, we're moving on. It is what it is. I'm not going to get worked up about mobile games unless a sequel to one of my favorite games is only a mobile game. I'm looking at you, EA. If you release a Baldur's Gate mobile game, I'll find you.
Hey, they're mostly Canadian too, so they're in our land, bro. We can go get them. We'll get them.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So we're on to our main discussion topic. And
booty.
I hate this in a way. It's so stupid.
It is, and I just kicked myself because I saw a picture. Oh, you've been talking. I saw a picture of the comparisons, and I just kind of have to look at it and laugh to myself because literally the only version is the PS4 in North America, and I just go, "Oh my lord, really?"
No, I'm looking at this is the same. The eye roll I did with this is the same eye roll I used to do with Xbox and PlayStation comparisons from Digital Foundry.
It would probably help our audience if you explain what you two are talking about.
Yeah, just a bit.
So if you've been living under a rock on social media today, everyone is outraged and absolutely ruined by the fact that on the North American PS4 version of Devil May Cry 5, in a specific scene, you don't get to see a butt crack. They use a lens flare to censor
the bit more than a butt crack. It's a nice booty.
Okay, well, you get to miss out on a nice booty because they use a flare from a monster's eye to cover it, essentially.
Yeah.
It's only the North American PlayStation 4 version. It's not the Japanese PS4 version. It's not the Xbox One version, and it is not. Well, it's not on Nintendo Switch, but it's definitely not on the PC version because we all know about PC audience for that.
And the crazy part is, like, the way the lens flare works, it's so far reaching on how it would obscure her butt. It's just like you can tell they purposely did that to obscure the butt. And you just go, really? Why? What's the point?
Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. I'm not mad at all. I mean, I'm on the Xbox version, but that's not why I'm not mad. That's not why I'm not mad here. I'm confused. I'm just puzzled. That's the thing. I don't have a stake in this either way, to be clear. I'm just confused because it's obviously not a bug. It can't be. There is no way it's a bug. That's been proven. So nothing there. But on top of that, even more information came out today. Or just in the last 30 minutes that I've been reading, it's just the Western versions.
Yeah.
The Japanese version of Devil May Cry 5 on PlayStation is not censored. It's fine. So that leaves the question, what on earth is going on?
I don't know.
Like, I don't care, but I'm fascinated. It's weird. It's really
like,
weird.
Why would you put the extra effort in just for this one demographic?
Here, I'm going to lay out some knowledge for you guys.
Oh boy.
What I think it is, and some people are going to take this to heart, and I'm sorry that your feelings are so easily hurt.
Oh no.
The reason why Sony is censoring Western versions of games is because of outrage culture. Now, follow me on down the rabbit hole. We've got.
Oh no, I know where you're going.
No, bear with me here.
Okay.
There's two very specific groups that you see interacting on social media. It's very blatant on Twitter. There's people that are pro-censorship and there's people that are against censorship. And they're both on both sides of that fence for very different reasons. And I will not make assumptions about either one of those groups, but both parties provide a good argument. Censorship can be bad because when you censor one thing, you leave yourself open for censoring other things. People said this with the porn games that they were blocking on PS4. They were like, it's fine. It's not weird. I'm like, I don't know. Some of these look like they're kids. Well, they're not kids. They're legal in Japan. I'm like, legal age in Japan's 14. This is questionable. So things like that I get. Censoring a butt crack, I guess. The game's M rated. ESRB rated this game M. If you are offended by a butt cheek and you're over the age of 18, I pray for you. I pray for you.
Triggered.
The thing is that ESRB ratings are for a thing. Video game retailers are supposed to not sell these games to people under the age of the ESRB rating.
Like, how could that upset you? Honestly, like,
well,
how? It's a rated M game, you should know.
Well,
you should know by now.
Games. The thing is that they could be worried about, oh, they're using the game to objectify women. There's so many ways people could spin this. Okay, instead, we're now spun in a direction of, well, Sony's Western audience is being censored butt cheeks, but everyone else gets butt cheeks. So why
would you do that? It's nice. Let the people
I think it's just the inconsistency that is an issue. You get what I'm saying? Like, they haven't gone back and retrospectively censored The Witcher 3, and spoiler alert, there's practically nothing left to the imagination at certain points. Like, nothing.
Thank you.
There's been a change in leadership at PlayStation in the West. Their leadership in North America has changed over the past year and a bit. So them cracking down on this could just simply be new leadership and nothing more than that. Do I agree with it? No, because if you're buying an M-rated game, prepare for M-rated themes. I've seen dicks in video games because of M ratings, okay? Like, it happens. You just move on. I just don't understand people. Like, I understand the core issue of censorship. I understand why it can be bad, how it can lead to other things. I really don't think gay. I think it's funny because I feel like they censored it because they didn't want outrage from the North American audience. And because they were like, well, this could cause outrage and some sites might write specific articles about this. So if we censor it, we'll be okay. So now they have a different group of people writing articles about how they're trying to take away freedom of speech via butt cheeks. I legitimately saw a YouTube video in my recommended tab. It was like Devil May Cry 5, the butt cheek fiasco. And I'm like,
oh my God. Like I said, I don't care. I don't care that it's censored or not censored. I just find the whole thing fascinating.
I know. It's a little ridiculous. And it's just like, all right, well, you know what? It's not my fault. I don't really care. I'm playing on the Xbox version. And it's just really one little scene. It's not going to ruin my whole gaming experience. So
I don't get it at all. I really don't get it at all.
Just, like I'm so silly. Hey! I got to give shout out though, honestly, to DMC5 and the use of the RE engine and how they used it for DMC5, because going from like Resident Evil 7 to Resident Evil 2 remake to seeing it now in DMC5. I think it's been a really nice way to see how they've utilized that engine and how versatile it is, too.
Oh, absolutely. Like, look at those butt cheek physics.
Ooh.
But no, seriously. I don't know. I think the constant... I'm writing a piece about this, but I think the constant state of outrage has a lot of companies really nervous. Because the thing is if you cater to one audience, you upset the other audience. And both these audiences make way too much noise about things that don't matter.
Yeah.
Like, I'll use a perfect example. We were making jokes about how fast people forget things.
What?
And they do. They forget. They move on from one thing to the other.
Forget very quickly. Some people don't, but a lot of people do. Like, how many people are still talking about the fact that THQ Nordic did an AMA on a alt-right child porn site? Nobody cares anymore. Like, the THQ Nordic released a absolutely pathetic apology for it publicly. Nobody reported on it. No one cared about it.
Yeah.
Because everybody already moved on. Thing is that it seems like people are just looking for things to be mad about. And right now, we're mad about butt cheeks. This is absolute bottom. This is absolute bottom of outrage culture. I can't wait for the thumbnail of some YouTube with his mouth wide open with the censored butt cheeks right by his face. I know that thumbnail's coming.
It's already there.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Someone's rendering that right now, and they think
there you go. There you go.
Smartest person on the internet right now. Do you think this guy? Do you think this issue's going to escalate?
No.
It depends. It depends, and here's what I'm going to say. Are we talking about the occasional AAA game where they bizarrely get, a butt cheek or a boob or whatever censored here or there, and it's like, okay, whatever, it's an odd thing out, but no one cares? Or is this going to be a thing where we start seeing games massively changed up due to their culture? Like, let me give you an example. Cyberpunk 2077. Is that going to be massively changed despite the fact that over-sexualization and push into advertising is a huge part of the cyberpunk genre? Desensitization, that's a massive topic. It's a massive issue. It's a part of the themes in Blade Runner and other great works of cyberpunk fiction. It'll be a part of Cyberpunk 2077. So is that something like that going to be affected? I don't know. Sony prides themselves on telling mature, complete stories for mature audiences. So it's just, I don't know. It's odd. It's really, really odd. That's all I can say on it at the moment.
Well, you bring up Cyberpunk 2077. The only reason I believe that I have no worries about that being censored is for a simple reason. It's CD Projekt Red.
Yeah, no kidding.
Eastern European developers, those guys do not bend at all, even a little bit. Like, come on. GOG made an off-color tweet. Everyone on Twitter got really mad about it. They laughed and made a half-arsed apology. And
I hear you. I'm just saying, using Cyberpunk was an extreme example. I get that, but you understand the point I'm making. It would take something like that to really get people truly focused and outraged. But
I see, the thing is that people don't get outraged enough about this stuff. Did anyone see the game that got pulled off Steam earlier this week?
Unfortunately, yes.
I don't really want to say its name.
We're not going to say it out loud. Yeah,
I'm not going to name the game. I'm not giving these shitbags, for lack of a better word, any more publicity than they got. But the thing is we have games that are built around this kind of outrage culture, and they use it as a marketing tool. Another example was 2017's Hater, if anyone remembers that one, which was basically, here, you get to be a high school shooter. Have fun.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember about that whole situation.
There was tons of games. This has been a thing for a long time. You can go all the way back to the 16-bit era. Does anyone remember Custer's Last Stand?
Nope.
Yes, we're not going to say anything out loud.
Yeah. This is something that, just Google it. Actually, don't Google it. Just do yourself a favor. Don't Google it either.
All right.
There's tons of games that through the years, if you ever wanted, this is the one time I will giggle at a Watch Mojo video. Go find the Watch Mojo video. It's the top 10. I think it's like top 10 most horrific banned games of all time. And let me tell you, this is not a new issue of people being off the ball. And the thing is that people are all for, they're like, oh, censorship's bad and everything else. But the thing is there's some things that need to be censored and not purchasable. There's a certain moral standard.
Right.
And I think if Dante rescuing a girl and she's naked, I don't think her butt cheeks are a moral complexity issue.
Especially not in a ridiculously over-the-top rock and roll game like Devil May Cry, which isn't taking itself seriously.
Yeah, this isn't like a thriller. This isn't the Beyond Two Souls shower scene. This isn't
exactly. Thank you. Yeah,
this game is the alternative to a hack and slash Brutal Legends. If anyone remembers that game,
actually, I do. Went back compat a couple of months ago.
Yeah, I actually found a copy at GameStop for $3. I'm gonna dive back into that at some point.
Nice.
I agree with Sam in the chat. He said someone in Sony's new management has to be the new reason for this. They are under new management. It was brought to my attention by someone on Twitter that they actually recently moved their Western dealings, their Western HQ, which was previously located PlayStation West, like all the HQ that handled Western releases used to be in Japan, but they recently moved to California a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. And all of a sudden these censorship issues started popping up. So new management, new location, soaking in the culture. We've talked about it on this show about how different cultures play into what your ideas of censorship are. It's a really, really complicated issues because we talk about it all the times because in North America, we're very sensitive about things like gender politics, political issues, everything else. It's a very complicated subject with a lot of different opinions that can get twisted around. Whereas in Eastern Europe, there's people that are our age that have lived through terrible wars and dealt with terrible things along those lines, of lost families and whatnot. So their scope of what's terrible and offensive is completely different than ours. And that goes for people in the Middle East, Asia, all over the world. All different cultures on different versions of what's offensive, what's not offensive. And I think that's just what's coming into play here. I think that Sony's just being a little careful with their Western publishers. But as Sam said, it's a little confusing for the company that uses gore to try to sell you The Last of Us Part 2. Try to be like, this is the moral high ground. Butt cheeks.
It's not that I care. It's just
it's weird.
Bizarre hill to die on.
Yeah, it's like, okay, sex is bad, but violence is good. Wait, what?
No kidding.
Pardon me?
Holy, it's just a little booty.
Yeah, so I don't think this is that big of a deal. Like I said, I'll have 19 videos about it on my YouTube channel in the next 48 hours because I'm outraged and I'm angry, and people are going to be angry with me. You guys have any closing thoughts on this?
It's dumb.
It's dumb.
It's plain and simple. It's dumb. Everything.
Yeah. It's.
Yeah.
I don't know. Since we're relatively short on episode because we breezed through the news, do you guys think that? How do I word this? Do you think that gamer interactions since the start of this generation, because this is the first generation that's fully been for social media, like we have all these different social media, like before this generation started, we basically had Facebook and forums, right? Whereas this one now, like Twitter's in full swing, Instagram, everything else. Do you think the widespread social media has made people more blatantly okay with going after people? Like, I've seen people get really ballsy with developers.
It's because it's more so, I think, the knowing and the safety of no repercussions in reality. It's just over the internet, through the computer, through a screen, typing on a keyboard kind of aspect. There's no actual repercussions that they can truly actually fear for them to not continue doing those actions.
Exactly. People think they're anonymous. Even if they are or they aren't, it doesn't matter. They think that their actions can't actually be called out. So it's the old question of what you are in the dark. Morality is what you do when other people aren't around. And unfortunately, we're realizing people feel free to be jerks at best when they are in the dark.
Yeah, and the evolution of social media is just continually changing, so it's allowing people to have more ways and more access to continually harass people online, and not just one way, but multiple ways. Like it can end up being just overbearing a lot of the time. So it's a little ridiculous how insane of play that social media has in these type of interactions with people now.
Well, we're literally seeing social media shape games now.
That's very true. Because there used to be like back in the day, you guys remember playing those mini games on Facebook a long time ago, like back when I was in high school. So that was over 10 years ago. It was built right into Facebook.
Yeah, like, do you guys remember going to sites like Newgrounds and playing Flash games?
Oh yeah, definitely, all the time.
I did, but I know people who did. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I feel like I was happier playing video games when I wasn't part of game culture. I know that sounds stupid because I've met so many amazing people, like the people that watch this show, people that interact with me on Twitter and everything else. Like, all those good experiences weigh in, but I don't block. I mute at least probably about 5 people a week.
Yeah.
Consistently. And it's no secret. I've been very blatant about it on social media. I've been targeted for harassment for reviews before, for my thoughts I've shared and everything else. People threaten me. People threaten my family. People have made fake accounts about me. People have tried to dox me before. I've been quite open about that. And the thing that bothers me most about this isn't the actual harassment of it, is I'm such a small fish in the sea. What do other people go through that are bigger?
Yeah.
Like, we're going to use the example more recently, and we're just shooting the shit at this point because I apparently didn't make a long enough topic list. It's been interesting to watch the struggle that we've seen with more recently in the past few months with Ryan McCaffrey. And I want to talk about this for a simple reason is it's a frustration that I have with my own show. Ryan came out a few months ago. Everyone remembers he made a Twitter thread talking about Podcast Unlocked, which is a fantastic Xbox podcast. And he said that he was constantly disappointed by their view numbers dropping, and that was really hard to gain a new audience because people don't want informative content anymore. They want people to tell them how to feel about something. And that's really hard to just deliver people the news and then move on from it without people wanting you to spin it in a way they want. And it's a frustration I've had with this show is when I picked you guys because you're middle of the roads. You're fans of your preferred console or whatever, but you guys are very middle of the ground thought pattern. You guys aren't cussing out someone for liking a different console or any of that nonsense. And it's really frustrating as a content creator to watch people that use hate and anger towards people that make video games or people that use who abuse people like Ryan McCaffrey and Jason Schreier in videos to get views. That's very frustrating to me because if you make a video harassing someone else and then weaponize your audience, that's disgusting.
Yeah. Plain and simple.
That whole situation with Jason Schreier and Yang Yi, for example, where Jason Schreier and him had debate about microtransactions. I don't necessarily agree with Jason, but I don't necessarily agree with Yang Yi either. And then Yang Yi did a video afterwards to just absolutely dunk on Jason. And it's so unnecessary. And as a content creator, you're responsible for your audience. When we write articles for our website, there's a strict writing process that goes through it. Sam, myself, all the editors have a very strict standard on what can go out.
Yeah.
It has to be written in a specific way. It has to be informative without swaying people in a different direction. News is meant to be delivered as news.
Yeah.
Your opinion, you should be giving very little to absolutely none of your opinion. on the news. That's the way we do it. I realize many don't, but that's the way we present the news.
We provide you the information. How you feel about it is your responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
I like Eurogamer does a great job of this. They give you the news, and then at the bottom they'll be like, "This is our thoughts on it." I think that's a great way of doing it. That's also a great way of doing it if you want to put your own opinion on. But in my opinion, you have a justification. There's a justification for what you have to do and everything else. There's a responsibility to your audience. My responsibility to you guys that listen to this show is to deliver you guys interesting information, interesting discussion, and to give you guys the information you need to know about the stuff that's happened through the week. And then our discussion topics are our opinions, but don't ever let our opinions taint something you love. Like, for example, it'll make a lot of people cringe. I think The Last of Us, the story's mediocre. I find the gameplay is where that game shines through. That crafting system is ingenious. I could really take or leave the story.
Man, you're weird. But you know what? That's perfectly okay.
Yeah, and it's the same thing as like I always say I'm not a huge Dark Souls fan. And I'm not a huge Dark Souls fan. You want to know why I'm not a big Dark Souls fan? Because I legitimately suck at the games. I don't have the patience. I don't have the patience. Those games are a waiting and thinking man's game, and I am essentially the video game playing version of Doom guy. If I can't rip and tear my way through it, I don't have an interest. And I think that's the biggest thing that people don't seem to get is that people don't seem to understand that people's opinions are just that, opinions. Yeah. And there's some opinions that are more widespread believed. They're not facts. Just because a bunch of people agree with your opinion doesn't make it a fact.
Yeah.
It means that's a more generalized opinion that's common.
Well, it's the same thing that goes with reviews, right? A review is nothing but an opinion of someone that's thoroughly played a product or a game that's been laid out properly for someone to look at and read and to get their own opinion from. You should never go and read an opinion or a review that is an opinion and come away from it and be like, okay, that should be exactly what I think. You shouldn't do that. Just go play the game. If you think it might be something that you might like because of someone else's opinion, base it off of that. But never go in and be like, okay, if this person says this is the way it is, then I feel the same way. Just don't do that.
Example. I control the Tick Games Network official Twitter account. So I get a lot of notifications from people comment or like stuff or whatever. And there was a gentleman who will not be named because he had 30 followers and he was an irrelevant little ass. Went at Jared because Jared didn't list any of the technical issues in Anthem in his review.
No, Jared listed a ton of them. He just didn't list one particular issue.
Yeah.
But
server crashing.
This guy was having a specific.
I don't know.
This guy was having a specific issue with Anthem that Jared did not experience. So Jared did not put it in his review because he did not experience.
Well, not just there's someone didn't experience that other people are experiencing, and there's so many that I can't list all of them, and it's very difficult to remember all of them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, like, to be brutally honest with you guys, me and Sam talked about this with State of Decay 2. State of Decay 2 was a buggy disaster when it launched.
Yeah.
But me and Sam were like two of the only people on Earth where the game worked. Like, I was sitting there like I could load into games fine. I had no crashes. I had no people falling through the map. My friends could join me. It was great. Game worked fine for me. No idea why it didn't work for anybody else. I'm glad I didn't write the review because I was like, I'm really enjoying this. And then people are like, well, the crashes and this. I'm like, I legitimately have not experienced this.
Yeah.
And you can have that. Like, there's some games I've had massive issues with. Like, Anthem has been a migraine because when I get to play it, it's so much fun. But the game freaking It took me a and 3 patches from BioWare to be able to complete the tutorial level without crashing.
And
and now now I'm having a blast, and I really love the game, and I haven't run into anything since. Fingers crossed.
Good. That's
Fingers
good.
crossed.
Good.
Yeah, it's a really fun game, but the discourse in video games it's terrible. And I think my favorite memory of video game discourse was when Sam wrote the State of Decay 2 interview. And Sam's sitting there going, oh no, he's going to bring up this one. So Sam got a review copy for State of Decay 2, and he was a little bit above the review average for the game. I think he gave it a 7.
It was like a high 7 or a low 8. The point is, it was like one of the most positive reviews for sure.
Yeah, it was one of the most positive reviews. So it ended up on N4G, and someone said, "How much of a pot of gold did How much of a pot of gold did Microsoft give you to write this review?"
Yep.
And for me, it was hilarious because first the insinuation that Sam's a leprechaun. Microsoft, like all I had images of was Aaron Greenberg in like a leprechaun outfit dropping off a pot of gold at Sam's doorstep. That's the only thing that came to my head. And just the hilariousness of people being like, if you say something positive against the grain of what other people are saying, well, obviously you were paid. But we want to go to content creators and YouTubers and streamers for reviews because there's no way they're paid.
And yet reports keep coming out saying, oh yeah, they paid me to do this review, to do this video, to do this, to do that.
Look at that YouTuber that got roasted into oblivion because he broke that embargo for Anthem. And he's like, oh, they pulled my video down for no reason. They're like, you broke your contract.
Yep. You dumb.
It's interesting.
People can be a little ridiculous, honestly. And need to relax a little bit because there's a little bit more to be worried about and a little bit more to be concerned about other than video games and what other people think about video games.
Yeah, like the thing is there's some things I want to tweet or put out there in articles. I sit there and go, no, because people are going to take me out of context.
Yeah, they usually do.
Because like I tweeted out one time, I was like, I'm okay with The Last of Us Part 2 landing in 2020 because that's a better fit for it. Oh my God.
Mentions blew up.
Yeah, no, like of all my tweets, like we ignore the positive ones, but as soon as I say even a little smidgen of saying, well, this is fine where it is, it's an issue. And people will take issue with the smallest things. I've seen people tweet out minor things and get like bombarded, like getting ratioed for basic things. Like, I thought of a really clever tweet that I wanted to put out. I wanted to see how many people would pick up on it. I wanted to be like, BioShock Infinite had the best story of any game released in 2013. And just let that stew. And see how many people would pick up on it.
Sure, I agree, because I don't remember what other game released in 2013 off the top of my head. So, there you go.
You're agreeing with me, even though The Last of Us came out in 2013.
No, yeah, and you know what? I'll still agree with you.
My man.
I love BioShock. Don't get me started. I played both games, but don't get me started about BioShock, man. That holds a special place in my heart.
For sure. Yeah, at the end of the day, it is what it is. Really, really shout out to the guys that show up to the chat in this show. We're going on 38 episodes. I've banned one person from our chat.
Woo-woo.
Not bad.
And the person that got banned was shouting racial obscenities at me, which makes no sense because if you click on my Twitter profile, I'm clearly the whitest person in history.
I don't know about that one.
At me literally makes no sense. Like, just stop. I think that was back in like episode 3. Yeah, that was our Sea of Thieves episode. I remember that. But yeah, this is the purpose of this show, is to give you guys gaming information that you can be more involved in, or maybe something you missed. A lot of people missed Judgment's receiving a Western release date. I missed it. Sam's like, hey, can you write up the Judgment Western release date? I'm like, it has a Western release date? What? But it got buried under some outrage topic on my Twitter. and I missed it. And that's what this show is for. I want to bring you guys attention to what we're all here for. Video games. We're all here because we love video games. It doesn't matter if you like Last of Us. It doesn't matter if you like Killzone. It doesn't matter if you like Halo. It doesn't matter. I don't care if your best game that you think you ever played was Mario Sunshine. Because that game was ballin' and it had no business being as good as it was. But yeah, it's been a trip. We will be switching formats for this show. This is kind of a wrap-up announcement. We're in the next couple of weeks, we'll be switching formats to this show because unfortunately YouTube is putting an end to Google Hangouts very soon.
Yeah. We're on borrowed time with Google Hangouts and going live, unfortunately.
On Google Hangouts. I'm going to miss doing this show live. I really am.
I will too.
We'll probably have to switch to pre-recordings. Unless you guys want to follow us to Twitch. I am open to doing the show on Twitch, but there has to be the audience has to be there. Otherwise, I will keep to pre-recording the shows because we're going to have to pre-record the shows via Discord and OBS because Google Hangouts is going to get closed out in the next couple of months and we will no longer be able to do live shows on YouTube.
Yeah.
Well, I could technically do it using OBS, but if I'm going to go through all that effort, I might as well just pre-record it and then I can edit it, add gameplay, give you guys a higher quality podcast experience. But if you guys actually have questions in the chat, throw them out there right now. If you guys have any questions for us, throw them out now. That's kind of just pissing around.
We've got some time.
I'm gonna miss doing this with the chat because our podcast chat is just it's great. I enjoy all the guys that stop in, watch our show, engage with the show. Shout out to all the people that watch us afterwards too. Our interaction numbers are great post show. I just love this audience we have. We have a small audience that always tunes in, is always interested in the conversation. I'm really proud of where this has come in the year we've been doing this. And we've got some really big things going on. I can't announce it yet because I don't have it completely ironed out. But next week, we'll most likely have a really big special episode. I'm hoping. So I'm hoping to know by the end of the weekend. So keep an eye on my Twitter for that. It's going to be a really good episode. It's just scheduling can be a nightmare, especially when it comes to people that work within the industry. So, like I said, if you guys have any questions, throw them in the chat, because if not, we're going to get out of here so Sam can eat some food before he has to do double duty on Tick Podcast.
Yep, presumably. I presume that's still happening, and yes, there's some delicious food being cooked in there. But yeah, like while we screw around here waiting to see if anyone has any questions, we really have appreciated you guys. If we do end up doing pre-record, know that I'm not 100% happy about it. You know, we're going to miss live audiences.
I'm going to adopt a strategy, and I'm straight up stealing this from Sacred Symbols minus the Patreon requirement. I will be asking you guys for questions day prior to every episode, the day prior to us recording. So you guys can still have that involvement with us. If you guys want to hear us talk about a specific topic that may not be on my topics list, we'll get your questions answered. And that'll be a huge part because I don't want to lose you guys as an audience because Google sucks at supporting anything.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so Sam asked a question in the chat.
Okay. What games do you think will flop this year? What games will exceed sales expectations?
Ooh, geez, that's broad. Okay, I'll go with one that I think is going to exceed expectations. Respawn's Jedi Fallen Order. I'm telling you guys, I think that's going to be a hit. And I think it's going to sell way better than people think it is.
I think it will too, just because of the writer that was working on it. That's going to have a good story.
That's not going to hurt. So yeah, that's one. I think Jedi Fallen Order is going to do way better than people think it will. Flop, I hate this. I hate thinking a game isn't going to do well. But okay, unfortunately, I think A Plague Tale: Innocence. and it sucks because that game looks really cool. It's
I'm personally so excited for that game.
It looks really cool.
phenomenal.
I was one of the first people actually to see that game.
Really?
Behind closed
So
doors in E3 back in 2017. I got to see that well before they showed anything off to the public. And it sucks because it looks really cool. It has horror elements, the hordes of rats. It's really cool. But there's practically no marketing for it, and I never hear anybody talking about it. So yeah, those are the two I'll go with.
It's just started to ramp up actually recently. I know actually with the Plague's Tale, Game Informer did a cover for it recently as well. It's starting to ramp up, but it's a game being pushed out by Focus Home Interactive, so they tend to put up their marketing a little bit closer towards their release date for the game. But in the end, I kind of have to agree with you on that one a little bit. I don't see a whole lot of talk about it, and I'm really excited for it personally as well. But it's not too far out there, and I kind of really wish it was because it has such a cool, unique story to it, and it's just kind of dark and gritty and not your typical story you would have in that time setting, but it fits so well. And how the way that game has been shown, like from watching the gameplay trailers and from the story trailer, it's really cool to see how focused and driven it is through the storytelling. Like it's not an action game; it's very story driven, and it's just looks so damn good. But unfortunately, like you said, Sam, it's not gonna. I don't think it'll do too well because it hasn't been too much voicing about it for a game that's going to exceed sales expectations. I think Sekiro, even though they probably have a high standard already for it, I think Sekiro is going to end up dominating this month's sales charts for sure. Even though the Division 2 is coming out as well, man, Sekiro I think is going to just take people by storm.
Yeah, for sure. I would co-sign that. And I'll tell you this, it's early that as well, but I think that Devil May Cry 5 is going to sell ridiculously.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I've got two for positive ones. They're going to exceed expectations. And one of them Sam's going to be super proud of, but I'm going to save that for a second. I think Rage 2 is absolutely going to smash people's expectations. Because the first game set people's expectations very low for that game. And it's Avalanche Studios, which they have kind of a mixed bag of good games and games. But id Software is overseeing it, and we all know the caliber that id Software brings.
Now that you brought up the second one, I'm thinking of a second one right now too that I'm pretty sure will probably end up coming out this year. But I'll say it once you're done, Nick.
My second one,
yeah,
I think it will be a lot bigger than people are giving it credit for. Control.
Oh yeah.
Okay, interesting pick.
Because the reason I say this is going to be one of the. I think Sam will definitely correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is the first Remedy game on PS4.
First Remedy game on PS4, yes. Not the first Remedy game on a PlayStation system, though it's been a long time.
Yes, but let's face it, Remedy has a really unique style. They have really good storytelling elements. They went a little too far with it in Quantum Break, but I think they realized the mistakes they made with that game and learned from them. I think Control is going to balance their storytelling elements and the gameplay elements look amazing. Because my only issue with Quantum Break was the storytelling in the final boss battle. That was literally it. I loved the gameplay in Quantum Break. The game felt uber short, and replayability just wasn't there for me.
Combat was fantastic, though.
Yeah, that combat was amazing, and Control looks similar, and I think Control will be a dominant force. Now, flops? Like Sam, I hate this one, but it's Dreams.
There you go.
I hate saying it, but critically, this game's going to do gangbusters. Is it going to develop a huge cult following? Absolutely. But there's no way after 7 years of development it meets sales expectations. And them releasing it into early access like the way they are makes me feel like they aren't confident in it as well. Because keep in mind, Dreams is a $60 game unless we're told otherwise. Because the big selling point for early access was you can get it for $30.
Yeah, and so if it's early access $30 and that's a discounted price, it's a $60 full game. Which, to be fair, after this many years of development, they better be if they want to get any recoup whatsoever.
Yeah, and that's the thing. This thing has to sell gangbusters. I don't know if it will. And that's not a dig at the game. I think the game's going to be amazing. But I don't know if it can find a commercial audience, which is more of a knock on the casual gaming audience for their tastes.
The one game I want to just quickly mention as well that I think is coming out this year. I'm kind of hoping it is. I don't remember if they announced anything yet or not. I'm pretty sure they haven't. But one game that I think once at least it comes out that's going to exceed very well is Atomic Heart.
I
think that's going to surprise a lot of people.
Their expectations for it are small. I think that game will be a cult hit. Absolutely. I think I look at when I see Atomic Heart, I look at it the same way I looked at Spec Ops: The Line back in the 360 generation.
Oh yeah.
And Spec Ops: The Line sold very consistently and still sold very consistently. And via backwards compatibility, I believe it's still selling decently. It's a game that everyone will want to play at some point, but I don't think necessarily it's going to smash out the gate. But I think lifetime it's going to be one of those games that people start playing and they're going to get hooked on it. Now I'm scrolling through the chat here. Thoughts on Microsoft data centers in Africa for Azure? It makes sense. They want to bring xCloud everywhere, so that includes, Africa, Asia, Middle East. It makes sense. Azure servers aren't just for gaming as well. There's other purposes for those, so it makes a lot of sense. If you want to bring cloud gaming to the next level, you got to be everywhere. Then that's pretty much the facts on that. Will you buy the PS Classic since it's on sale for $40? Why? I can just use an emulator on my computer that does it better than the emulator.
That's true, though.
I don't have to talk about my disdain for the PS1 Classic. You guys can do the talk on that. I did a whole article.
I'm good, man. You've spoken well more than enough for both of us, I'm sure.
And as Sam said in the chat, I will buy it for $1.
$1. Not even $3.50. Not even what the Loch Ness Monster would take. Less than that.
Crash Team Racing is going to be the next big thing. Absolutely. It's a better kart racer than Mario Kart. So I absolutely agree with you.
It's true.
I think it's true. Everybody in their heart knows that Crash Team Racing is better than Mario Kart.
Shoot.
I'm not gonna lie though, I kind of cringed when I saw it on my Xbox store for $80.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, $80 for Crash Team Racing. I'm like, I'm still there day one.
No.
Jared, it's Crash Team Racing.
No, not for $80. No. 20, sure. Not 80. No.
But we're gonna wrap it up so Sam can go eat. Thank you guys for tuning in to Gaming Perspective, episode 38. Like I said, we might be doing a special episode next week. If I get it nailed down, you guys will find out more information on Twitter. Let these guys do their outros. Sam?
You can find me on Twitter at Samuel Tolbert. You can find what I write on tickgamesnetwork.com. Thanks to everybody who came out. We really appreciate it.
Oh,
we really appreciate y'all's support.
For sure. Jared?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at RageVirus_X or as well at tickgamesnetwork.com.
Absolutely. And you can find me on Twitter at Undead3XVI. I'm Nicholas Down. You can find all my written work at tickgamesnetwork.com. I've got a off gaming topic video I'm uploading on Monday to this channel. So if you want to see me yell and scream about something that I'm actually angry about that isn't video games, stay tuned for that. So thank you guys for tuning in. You guys are awesome as always. And in the next couple of weeks, when we start to slowly phase out Google Hangouts and go to pre-recorded, reminder that you can find us on Twitter at The Gaming Perspective on Twitter, and follow me at Undead3XVI. I will be looking for your guys' questions in the upcoming weeks as we switch formats. And I will also be figuring out when we'll be uploading the episodes. So there'll be a lot of feedback, polls, and things like that in terms of the direction and how this show will continue forward. And as always, your input is appreciated. We cannot do this show without you guys. Well, we could, but it would just be three of us talking in a circle by ourselves, and that'd be very confusing and lonely. So thank you guys for tuning in, and stay tuned for the next episode of the Gaming Perspective podcast next Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Good night.